Florida. Florida has a way of making people see a tropical landscape from an entirely different perspective. There are no towering mountain ranges or snow-covered winters here, yet the state is home to endless beaches, vast wetlands, crystal-clear rivers, and countless islands. On the map, Florida may appear to be little more than a narrow peninsula stretching into the sea, but within it lie many different worlds. The north has a quieter character, shaped by forests, rivers, and historic towns. Travel south, and the landscape gradually transforms into sprawling wetlands, sun-drenched coastlines, and the Florida Keys scattered across the blue waters of the ocean. What makes Florida especially fascinating is that its natural environment does more than create beautiful scenery. It has also shaped the way people live across the state. From the white sand beaches of the Gulf Coast to the coral reefs offshore, Florida always seems to reveal a different landscape around every bend in the road. It is this remarkable contrast that makes Florida impossible to define as simply another tropical destination. If you enjoy discovering extraordinary places around the world, be sure to like and subscribe so you can continue exploring with us on the journeys ahead. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss another fascinating destination as we continue our journey across the world. Our journey through the most beautiful places in Florida begins right now. Miami. The moment you see palm trees leaning over the roadside, sunlight spilling across the streets, and shades of blue stretching all the way to the horizon, it becomes easy to recognize Miami. This city has a character that is almost impossible to mistake for anywhere else. Located in southeastern Florida and facing directly onto the Atlantic Ocean, Miami has long been one of the most vibrant international cities in the United States. Yet its appeal extends far beyond its famous beaches, shaped by a distinctive blend of culture, architecture, art, and tropical living. Miami Beach is where this familiar image comes to life most clearly. The long coastline unfolds in front of hotels, restaurants, and rows of palm trees, while the historic district of South Beach is distinguished by hundreds of Art Deco buildings constructed mainly during the 1930s and 1940s. Their geometric facades, pastel colors, and rounded lines create such a recognizable architectural style that a single glimpse is often enough to identify Miami. As night falls, the area shifts into a completely different rhythm with glowing lights, music, and crowds moving along Ocean Drive. Away from the beach, Miami reveals an even more multicultural side. Little Havana is one of the clearest expressions of Cuban culture, with cafes, restaurants, cigar shops, and the sound of Spanish filling the streets. Elsewhere, street art, galleries, and modern architecture continue to broaden the city's visual identity. Decades of immigration from the Caribbean and Latin America have played a major role in shaping Miami's exceptionally rich cultural life. Nature, however, remains deeply woven into the structure of the city. Biscayne Bay opens into broad expanses of water, while coastal neighborhoods and small islands offer countless different perspectives of Miami. From the shoreline, the skyline rises behind the water. From the city center, the ocean remains visible in the distance, an inseparable part of Miami's identity. The result is a fascinating balance between concrete and sea, international energy, and local culture. Perhaps that is why Miami is remembered not simply as a coastal city, but as a place with a personality entirely its own, where every neighborhood reveals a different side of Florida. Tampa. High-rise buildings reflected in the river, boats gliding through the harbor, and crowds moving along waterfront streets create one of Tampa's most recognizable scenes. The city sits on Tampa Bay, where rivers flow into a broad natural harbor before opening toward the Gulf of Mexico, and that location has shaped Tampa from its earliest days. Ships, docks, and maritime trade once drove the city's growth, and today its riverfront paths, modern neighborhoods, and new developments continue that story. From a distance, Tampa looks like a modern Florida city, but the deeper you explore, the more clearly its long history as a port city begins to emerge. One of the best places to experience this connection is the Tampa Riverwalk, a waterfront route following the Hillsborough River through several key areas of downtown. Along the way are parks, restaurants, museums, and open spaces overlooking the water. During the day, Pedestrians and cyclists keep the riverfront constantly in motion, while after dark, illuminated buildings reflected on the water give the city an entirely different atmosphere. Farther away, Ybor City preserves a distinctive chapter of Tampa's past. Its brick streets, historic architecture, and cigar shops recall the period when the neighborhood became one of the world's major centers of cigar production. Tampa also has a rich cultural life. The Tampa Museum of Art, the Museum of Science and Industry, and numerous creative spaces ensure that the downtown area is about far more than business and commerce. Meanwhile, neighborhoods along the bay offer more open surroundings where residents can enjoy the tropical climate and the constant presence of the water. This combination of urban life, history, and nature gives Tampa far more layers than its modern skyline might suggest. A day in Tampa can begin beside the river, continue through streets shaped by generations of history, and end beneath the lights of downtown. That is what makes Tampa so distinctive. Water, history, and modern life remain visible within the same landscape, and every turn along the river or through its streets reveals another side of Florida's Gulf Coast.
Por eso, Tampa deja una impresión especial. Una ciudad donde el agua, la historia y la vida moderna comparten un mismo escenario. Y así, cada vez que doblamos una esquina o seguimos el curso del río, se abre ante nosotros una nueva perspectiva, una nueva historia y otra forma de descubrir la fascinante región de la Bahía de Florida.
Clearwater Beach. Clearwater Beach is famous for something that sounds almost simple: white sand and clear blue water. Yet it is precisely this combination that has made it one of the most beloved beaches on Florida's west coast. Set along the Gulf of Mexico, Clearwater Beach offers a long stretch of soft sand, shallow water, and the unmistakable atmosphere of a seaside resort town. Sunlight feels almost like part of the landscape itself, reflecting across the water and giving the shoreline its signature brightness. But the appeal of this place extends far beyond the beach. Along the waterfront are resorts, restaurants, shops, and pedestrian paths, creating an easygoing setting where visitors can relax while still exploring the area. You can go kayaking, parasailing, fishing, or head farther offshore in search of quieter waters. Pier 60, Clearwater Beach's best-known pier becomes a gathering place every afternoon as locals and visitors arrive to watch the sunset over the Gulf of Mexico. After dark, the area remains lively with entertainment and street performers. The marina is another important part of Clearwater Beach's distinctive character. Rows of docks, tour boats constantly arriving and departing, and crowds moving along the waterfront give the area a much livelier rhythm than the calm beach itself might suggest. From the shore, boats can be seen crossing the Gulf, with hotels, restaurants, and busy streets forming the backdrop. This constant transition between open water, marina, and urban life creates a dynamic Clearwater Beach, where the coastal landscape is not separate from the town but woven directly into its everyday life. Clearwater Beach, therefore, has a rhythm all its own. Morning begins with calm water, palm trees, and people walking along the sand. By afternoon, the light softens and the pier grows busier as everyone gathers for sunset. At night, the waterfront restaurants and surrounding streets remain brightly lit. Neither completely untouched nor overwhelmingly busy, Clearwater Beach maintains a comfortable balance between natural scenery and the energy of a popular coastal destination. Its water, sand, sunlight, and seaside lifestyle come together to create an image that belongs unmistakably to this part of Florida. And sometimes, the beauty of Clearwater Beach lies in the simplest experience of all. A long day beside the Gulf of Mexico, where sea and sky seem to merge into one. Orlando. Orlando is often described as the capital of theme parks, but the city exists far beyond a world of fairy tale castles and thrill rides. Located in central Florida, Orlando is surrounded by numerous lakes, green spaces, and a network of waterways typical of the state's low-lying interior. This landscape gives the city a distinctive character, modern and energetic, yet still open enough for nature to remain part of everyday urban life. Orlando's most famous areas are centered around its large-scale theme parks. Walt Disney World Resort, Universal Orlando Resort, and many other attractions have transformed the city into one of the best-known tourism destinations in the United States. Wide boulevards, hotels, shopping districts, and restaurants have grown around the enormous flow of visitors, creating a pace that rarely seems to slow down. Yet once you move away from these busy areas, Orlando reveals a much quieter side, with lakes tucked between residential neighborhoods, tree-lined streets, and spacious suburbs. One of the most surprising things about Orlando is just how much water is woven into the city. Lake Eola sits in the heart of downtown, creating a striking green space surrounded by office towers and busy streets. Farther out, the natural lakes scattered across the Orlando area provide opportunities for boating, fishing, and relaxation. The city, therefore, has not been shaped only by entertainment and tourism, but also by a landscape of lakes that existed long before the resorts arrived. Lakeside neighborhoods also reveal that Orlando is not built entirely around visitors, as green spaces remain closely connected to the daily life of local communities. When night falls, Orlando shifts into another rhythm. Brightly illuminated entertainment districts, busy roads, and the constant movement of visitors can make the city feel like one enormous stage. Yet behind all that excitement remains a distinctly Floridian city of lakes, greenery, and quiet residential neighborhoods. That contrast is what makes Orlando so compelling. On one side, a world of entertainment designed to amaze, and on the other, a central Florida city that continues to move at a rhythm of its own. Fort Lauderdale. Boats moving through a vast network of canals, palm trees leaning over coastal roads, and resort towers stretching beneath the Florida sun create the unmistakable image of Fort Lauderdale. Located in southeastern Florida along the Atlantic Ocean, the city is surrounded by an extensive system of waterways. That is why Fort Lauderdale has often been called the Venice of America, although today its identity extends far beyond that of a simple canal city. It is a place where the ocean, inland waterways, modern architecture, and a distinctive resort lifestyle come together. To understand Fort Lauderdale, one of the best places to begin is Las Olas Boulevard. The avenue runs from downtown toward the coast, passing shops, art galleries, restaurants, and neighborhoods with very different characters. As you move closer to the Atlantic, the surroundings become more open until Las Olas Beach appears, with its long stretch of sand and rows of palm trees lining the shore. Here, locals and visitors spend their days by the ocean while the coastal roads nearby remain constantly in motion. If the beach represents Fort Lauderdale's resort side, its canal system tells a very different story. These waterways wind through residential neighborhoods, pass beneath bridges, and connect directly with the Atlantic beyond. Many homes sit right along the water with private docks, making boats a familiar part of everyday life. Seen from a canal cruise, Fort Lauderdale no longer appears to be simply a city facing the ocean, but rather an urban landscape organized around water itself. Behind its modern appearance, however, there are still important pockets of greenery. Places like these help Fort Lauderdale maintain a sense of balance between the pace of urban development and the relaxed atmosphere of tropical Florida. What makes Fort Lauderdale particularly memorable is the way water appears almost everywhere. In the ocean, along the canals, beside homes, and throughout the city streets. From a day spent on the beach to a boat journey through waterfront neighborhoods, every perspective reveals another piece of the city's character. And it is this natural connection between urban life and the water that gives Fort Lauderdale its distinctive charm. Key West. At the southern end of the Florida Keys, a small stretch of land reaches out into the sea, where palm-shaded streets, historic wooden homes, and the blue of the ocean create a rhythm of life unlike anywhere else. From here, Cuba is actually closer than Miami, and that sense of isolation has long helped shape the island's distinctive character. There are no broad boulevards or towering metropolitan skylines, only low-rise streets, centuries-old architecture, and the relaxed atmosphere of a coastal town. This is Key West, the city located at the very end of the Florida Keys. Visitors often begin their journey in the Old Town, where many of the city's historic buildings and most picturesque streets are concentrated. Traditional wooden houses, small balconies, white fences, and tropical gardens line the neighborhoods, creating an appearance that is instantly recognizable. Mallory Square offers a different atmosphere, especially in the late afternoon, when locals and visitors gather along the waterfront to watch the sun sink toward the horizon. But the beauty of Key West extends far beyond the land. The waters surrounding the island offer opportunities for snorkeling, boating, fishing, and exploring the clear blue seas of the Florida Keys. Its position between the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean supports a rich marine environment, including coral reefs and a wide variety of sea life. Move away from the busy center, and the feeling of a lively tourist town gradually gives way to the vast openness of the ocean. What makes Key West especially memorable is the way it has preserved a strong sense of freedom and individuality. Small bars, art galleries, local shops, and quiet residential streets exist alongside the island's best-known attractions. As evening approaches, the final sunlight casts a soft golden glow across the rooftops and the sea, while the pace of island life begins to slow. Key West does not need monumental landmarks to leave an impression. Its small scale, long history, surrounding waters, and easygoing spirit are what give the island its enduring charm and its own sense of peaceful escape. Siesta Key. Unlike many of Florida's famous coastal cities and beaches, Siesta Key does not make its first impression through luxury resorts or endless rows of palm trees. What truly sets this place apart lies beneath your feet. Exceptionally fine white sand with a very high quartz content, known for its softness and for staying surprisingly cool even under the Florida sun. Located just offshore from Sarasota along the Gulf of Mexico, Siesta Key is a barrier island of low-rise neighborhoods, tropical vegetation, and narrow roads running along the island. That simplicity gives the area a very different character from many other coastal destinations in Florida. Siesta Beach is where this distinctive landscape is most clearly revealed. Its broad, gently sloping shoreline opens onto the blue waters of the Gulf of Mexico, with areas for swimming, beach volleyball, and a variety of activities on the water. Behind the beach are stretches of greenery and public spaces, allowing the coastline to retain an open, spacious feeling rather than being dominated by large resort developments. Seen from above, the contrast between brilliant white sand, turquoise water, and dense tropical greenery creates one of the island's most recognizable scenes. Away from the beach, Siesta Key settles back into the slower rhythm of a small island community. The roads are modest in scale, while local shops, restaurants, and residential areas sit among the trees, creating an intimate and relaxed atmosphere. Here, the sea is not separate from everyday life, but naturally woven into it. As afternoon turns to evening, Siesta Key takes on an entirely different character. The sun drops toward the Gulf of Mexico, casting soft golden light across the white sand, while the open horizon remains unobstructed by towering buildings. Locals and visitors gradually gather along the shoreline, waiting for the final moments of the day as the sky changes color above the water. Siesta Key does not need grand architecture or dramatic landmarks to leave a lasting impression. The cool quartz sand beneath your feet, the blue Gulf ahead, and the wide open sky are more than enough to create one of the most distinctive landscapes along Florida's coast. Everglades. The Everglades is unlike any ordinary wetland. Stretching across the southern tip of Florida, it forms an immense wetland system where fresh water from Lake Okeechobee slowly moves south through sawgrass marshes, flooded forests, and natural channels before eventually reaching the sea. From a distance, the landscape may appear flat and still, but beneath the shallow water lies a world in constant motion. American alligators rest almost motionless along the banks. Wading birds search for food among the grasses, and clusters of trees rise from slightly higher ground. The true fascination of the Everglades lies in both its scale and the extraordinary diversity of its ecosystems. Everglades National Park protects the southern portion of this vast wetland and provides habitat for many rare and threatened species. American alligators and American crocodiles can both be found here, alongside West Indian manatees, Florida panthers, and an impressive variety of bird life. With every season, changing water levels transform the landscape. At times, flooded grasslands stretch across the horizon like a vast green plain, while at others, tree islands and mangrove forests stand out more clearly against the surrounding water. Exploring the Everglades is also very different from a conventional sightseeing experience. Walking trails lead visitors through forests and wetlands, while airboats and kayaks offer perspectives much closer to the water. Along the way, even the smallest movement in the grass can capture your attention because wildlife often appears without warning and disappears just as quickly. Silence becomes part of the experience, making every bird call, splash of water, and movement across the marsh feel more distinct. But the importance of the Everglades reaches far beyond its wildlife and scenery. This enormous wetland system plays a major role in southern Florida by storing and regulating water while supporting habitats used by countless native species. Behind what may seem like a quiet landscape lies an intricate natural network that has been developing for thousands of years. The Everglades does not impress with towering mountains or dramatic cliffs, but with the feeling of entering a world where water determines the shape of the land. Wildlife moves freely, and nature still sets the rhythm of life across the region. The deeper you travel into the Everglades, the more its beauty reveals itself through the quiet life unfolding around the water. Destiny. Arriving in Destin, the first thing that often catches the eye is the striking turquoise water stretching beside long beaches of white sand. Located along Florida's northwestern coast, the city faces the Gulf of Mexico and is known for clear water, fine sand, and colors that shift constantly with the light. But Destin is far more than a coastal resort. Behind its picture-perfect shoreline is a city deeply connected to fishing, harbors, and a maritime way of life that has existed here for generations. Harbor Walk Village is one of the liveliest areas in Destin. Restaurants, shops, entertainment venues, and marinas gather around the harbor, where fishing boats and sightseeing vessels are constantly arriving and departing. From here, visitors can watch boats head out toward the Gulf of Mexico while the waterfront behind them remains full of activity. The harbor is therefore more than a tourist attraction. It also reflects Destin's roots as a coastal community built around the sea. Away from the busy center, the beaches once again become the main attraction. The white sands of Henderson Beach open onto a broad coastal landscape of dunes, native vegetation, and turquoise water extending toward the horizon. Henderson Beach State Park protects one of the remaining natural stretches of coastline in the area, offering a quieter view of Destin that feels less developed and closer to the original character of Florida's Gulf Coast. The sea also supports a world of activity throughout much of the year. Boats take visitors offshore for fishing, diving, wildlife excursions, or simply to search for calmer waters beyond the shoreline. The constant movement of vessels gives Destin a rhythm of its own, where the Gulf is not merely something to admire, but an essential part of the local economy and culture. As evening approaches, Destin returns to one of its most beautiful scenes. The final sunlight spreads across the Gulf of Mexico. Boats gradually make their way back into the harbor, and the white sand begins to glow with warmer tones beneath the open sky. At that moment, the city feels both like a holiday destination and a community whose identity still depends on the sea. Destin is remembered not only for its turquoise water, but also for sails on the horizon, fishing boats returning after a day offshore, and long white beaches stretching beneath the colors of sunset. Jacksonville. A broad river cuts through the city before opening toward the Atlantic Ocean, carrying with it bridges, waterfronts, and a skyline reflected across the surface of the water. Along both banks, forests, residential neighborhoods, and coastal roads unfold one after another, allowing the landscape to shift constantly between a sprawling city and wide stretches of open nature. To the east, the urban landscape gradually gives way to long beaches facing the ocean, while to the west, the city extends deeper into the lands surrounding the river. This constant interweaving defines Jacksonville, the largest city in Florida by land area and one of the most geographically expansive urban centers in the United States. Downtown is centered around the St. Johns River, where waterfront paths, parks, and urban buildings create a continuous connection between the city and the water. The Main Street Bridge stands out with its distinctive blue structure, while the Matthews Bridge opens broader views toward other parts of the city. As the light changes throughout the day, the river changes with it, sometimes reflecting the downtown skyline and at other times appearing as a vast open stretch of water between the two shores. The St. Johns River, therefore, does more than divide Jacksonville geographically. It has become an essential part of the city's identity. Move away from downtown and Jacksonville begins to reveal a much less urban side. The Timucuan Ecological and Historic Preserve protects wetlands, coastal forests, and ecosystems connected to the region's long human and natural history. The transition from high-rise buildings to forests and marshlands can happen surprisingly quickly, creating one of the city's most striking contrasts. Along the eastern edge of Jacksonville, a chain of beaches stretches beside the Atlantic Ocean, including Jacksonville Beach, Atlantic Beach, and Neptune Beach, each with a slightly different atmosphere. These coastal areas combine lively neighborhoods, restaurants, and shops with broad stretches of sand opening directly onto the ocean. Waves roll continuously toward the shore, while the energy of a major city remains close behind, preventing the coastline from ever feeling completely separated from urban life. What stays with you after visiting Jacksonville is not a single landmark, but a sequence of constantly changing landscapes. One moment, a bridge rises above the St. Johns River and city buildings shimmer in the water. A short drive later, forests or an open Atlantic beach can fill the entire view. Jacksonville is vast in every sense, but that scale is precisely what allows the city to hold so many different identities at once. Water, forests, urban neighborhoods, and the ocean do not exist as separate worlds here, but blend into one continuous landscape, making Jacksonville one of the most visually diverse places in Florida. Florida is a place where tropical beaches exist alongside one of the most remarkable wild ecosystems in the United States. From the vast wetlands of the Everglades to the Florida Keys scattered across the ocean, this state has been shaped by water in countless different ways. Water forms its coastlines, winds through mangrove forests, sustains sprawling wetlands, and opens the way toward islands far offshore. Because of this, Florida is far more diverse than the familiar image of sunshine, sand, and coastal cities might suggest. Look a little deeper, and much of Florida's beauty can be found in its contrasts. Lively resorts can sit surprisingly close to landscapes that still feel almost untouched. Alligators move through the marshes of the Everglades. Flocks of birds search for food across the wetlands, while offshore, coral reefs and island communities follow rhythms of their own. Together, these landscapes create a Florida that feels both familiar and unpredictable, where tropical scenery and the wild, natural world exist side by side. If you had to choose one place that best represents Florida, would it be the beaches, the Everglades, or the Florida Keys? Let us know your choice in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can continue joining us on future journeys of discovery. A journey through Florida may begin with a day beside the ocean, but this state has many more worlds waiting to be explored. Thank you for traveling with us, and we'll see you again on our next adventure.